Okay, well, never a shortage of things to talk about when it comes to Canada-U.S. relations. Let's get upstairs to the patio with Roger.
All right, thank you very much, Mel. Yeah, we are talking to the former U.S. ambassador to Canada, best-selling author of the memoir of The Art of Diplomacy. Bruce Heyman joins us. He's in town. You were in for Canada, a tripartite, right? Discussion?
Yeah, Canada,
U.S.
India, right. Conversation in Brampton last night.
And
it was really good.
Just quickly, what was the focus on it then?
So the focus was trying to understand the new world in which the president has isolated America and is attacking people on trade. How do we operate in that new world between Canada, India, and the U.S., or any other country for that matter? And it's not an easy path going forward. It's very different than what people have been used to since post-World War II era.
Do you feel he is disrupting it that much?
Oh, yes. So what's happening is with these tariffs, and, look, I think his conversations have been impaired at best. It was just a week ago, last week Friday, that he gets out and tells, I hereby order American companies to get out of China. And then he compares the president of China to the head of the Fed and said, who's the bigger enemy? And then he puts tariffs on in the afternoon. I mean, I think, he is impetuous. General Mattis called it limited cognitive ability in his interactions.
Which is quite a statement to me.
Yeah, I think that is. But so world leaders have to understand how to operate with this president. You saw it in the G7. They got rid of the end statement. They tried to figure out ways to operate with him in as effective way as possible, given his behavior, which is so aberrant.
How would you approach something like the president if you were an ambassador from another country? How would you handle him?
I'd humor him. I'd flatter him. I'd try to then work and have him come to the conclusion of whatever it is I wanted to get accomplished was his idea, so that I could say, wow, brilliant idea, but it would take work and finesse. I think the Canadian government did a great job doing that with the new NAFTA and the negotiations that took place over this last year. I mean, very few countries have been able to figure this out. Macron just started figuring it out and really played a lot of that at the G7.
With the, we'll talk a little bit about the G7, your thoughts on it. Anything surprise or wow that came out of it?
So I think the wow is how separate the U.S. is from the rest of the group. And the rest of the group, again, coalescing and dealing with things like climate change. And, the president didn't show up to the meeting. It was an empty chair at that meeting. But it shows how alliances can work with the U.S. not there at the table. My message last night, my message going forward is we've got to figure that out with all the countries, but keep the chair open because this isn't going to last forever. The U.S. will be back at that table.
And long term, do you feel it's damaging the way the president is handling things, or can it be mended?
So here's the damage that's taking place right now. Businesses around the world are having a difficult time figuring out where to make that next investment because he says, I threaten Canada and steel aluminum tariffs. I may do your autos. And then he threatens Mexico. If you don't fix the border, I'm going to tariff you. And he's threatening Europe and he's threatening China. If you're a business person and you're saying, I want to build plant and equipment and expand, you don't know where to do it.
You're going to hesitate.
So what you do is you hesitate and freeze. And that's why the global economy is slowing down. The thing that's still working is the U.S. consumer is still spending money at home. And so that's still the engine that's still working here.
And with the Democrats, they seem to be doing their best to get him back in, to get President Trump in for another. Who do you see as a front runner emerging right now, or as their favorite, or what do you think they have to do?
So Vicki and I attended the debates in Detroit and watched, each of these candidates. First of all, they're a very strong group of folks. But the challenge is they started fighting amongst each other and then taking shots at President Obama, which I think was the wrong direction to go. I think now with a narrower field, we've got the debates coming up in Houston in just a couple of weeks, that we have now the field cut in half. I think that we're going to coalesce. I think we're coalescing around 3 top candidates right now, with a few others in the wings, and let's see who breaks out. Elizabeth Warren's on the momentum. Biden's still trying to hold his seat as the leader. Bernie Sanders has still been in that position now for a couple of races. But I think these are the top 3 to watch for right now, unless someone breaks out.
So it's going to be a very interesting year ahead?
It will be maybe just a week, the way this president
depending on how it goes,
right.
Yeah. Up here, we've got our election coming up. What kind of an impact do you think Canada-U.S. relations is going to have on the election, or if any?
I hope none. I actually believe, and I've said this before, regardless of who occupies 24 Sussex when you move back in and the Oval Office, that this should rise above party. That the U.S.-Canada relationship is so important. Canada is our best friend, our best ally, our neighbor, our best trading partner. We share this beautiful continent together, that we have to protect this relationship at every twist and turn, and it shouldn't rely on who's occupying either office on either country.
Okay, Bruce, thank you very much for joining us.
Always
a pleasure
good to be here.
Former
Thanks.
U.S. Ambassador to Canada, Bruce Heyman. We appreciate it. Art of Diplomacy available everywhere, right?
Everywhere.
All right, perfect. Let's head
Okay.
over to Natasha for the weather. Nat.